Dear friends, in the previous session we discussed about the sphere of economy and square of stability. It was the very basic, the emphasis was very basic on fundamental activities of consumption income and production expenditure. The shape and the square will always remain same, and because this is the ideal shape, and within a perfect sphere only a perfect square can exist. Therefore, the further division of square of stability, it can be divided in different geometrical patterns, and these patterns will indicate the forces of economic activity. So first division is a vertical division, means if you vertically divide the square beginning from the sphere of economy, so you will have two distinct rectangular shape emerging. The left hand side of the square of economy, the rectangle of will denote the stability of volume of demand, means demand volume. Demand constitutes of two basic factors, that is what is the level of consumption and how the consumption is being purchased. So naturally the income, whatever is available to people living in the economy, it is applied for the consumption. Therefore, there is a constant interaction. The monetary value is always, we keep on changing the physical part of the demand of economy. So it has a one pole consumption, that is a physical consumption, and monetary equivalent, that is when the income is applied, that is called the monetary value. So income is the monetary value and the consumption is the physical equivalent of it. The right hand side rectangular shape is represented by two fundamental forces of production and expenditure. Production is once again a physical activity, and when the physical resources of the economy are transformed to a consumable commodity, some expenditure is incurred on this conversion, that is called the cost of production, and this is what we in totality can denote it as an expenditure. So if the two rectangulars shape, they match each other, it's a stage of perfect equilibrium between the demand volume and supply atmosphere. Either side, if they are one pole gets more strength, what we mean by more strength, that if it occupies due to change circumstances a greater area, within two rectangular side, either side can gain greater area because of the changed circumstances. So the changed increase will denote that a particular, because of a particular factor working there has caused the increase of one rectangular pole, and if comparatively another side of the division of square means either the demand of volume, it can go up, or the supply atmosphere can grow up. In either case, the different meaning can be assigned to the reasons, causes, and its effect on the stability of the economy as a whole. In totality, why the change in rectangular is causing the disturbance in the stability of economy. The pressure on demand value can be because of the higher consumption. Higher consumptions can always be enforced if the government or the central bank introduces more currency in the market, and this is what we call is a deficit financing. The purpose of deficit financing is always, sometimes it is due to unavoidable reasons, but when the deliberate attempt is made to balance the physical part and currency part of the economy, then generally the government believes, it is generally believed that more purchasing power, the pumping, if you pump in more currency, more income will be available to the consumers to buy a certain product, or increase demand will cause increase in production. If the production is stagnating because of the lack of demand from the consumers, that situation, if it has to be reversed, there can be two options, that more income is generated by its citizen by engaging in more productive ways of production, and more income as a result. So this is proper way of increasing the purchasing power of the consumer if the income grows. But if the income is stagnating, and because of that, if the consumption is not creating the demand, in that case the production will not increase. So give impulses of demand to cause the commensurate increase in production. Generally the financing, the deficit financing measures are resorted. It is also because of the availability of credit facilities. If it is cheaper, the people will generally take loan from the banks, and use that loan to buy certain commodities. In this case also, it may cause domestic production to increase, but at the same time, it is generally observed that import of those commodities which the consumers want to consume, the import can also grow up. So the import always affects adversely to the national economy, because the currency has to go out of the boundaries of the nation, and the exporting country is benefited, their industry is benefited rather than the domestic industry. So therefore a very fine tuning of the division of the stability of economy, that the square of the stability has to be always monitored, that it is increasing natural purpose of management of economy is to progress economic development. But the economic development means the increase in the production capacities, and because of that, the reward should be given to the people living in the economy to generate more and more consumption. So, this is the fundamental objective to elaborate the vertical division of the economy, and for that case, I would like to draw the attention on graph 4. Graph 4 will of the book Shape of Economy will give you a further develop insight into this graph. Now the graph remains same. We are just giving the explanation that a geometrical pattern emerging because of that. What is trying to explain. So similarly, there can be a horizontal division of the square, ideal square, or the stability of economy square in two parts. The lower part will represent two physical fundamental activities of consumption and production. The upper rectangular shape will represent monetary value. Monetary value in two poles is expressed by income and expenditure. Both are monetary activities, monetary equivalent. Income is because of the consumer getting the income and applying that income for the purpose of consumption. Sooner or later, I told you that income can be stored also in the future, but ultimately, whatever is the deferred consumption will take place sometime or other, or it will be deposited in the bank account, and that will create the capital of saving on the hand of consumer is called saving, and if it is applied by bank to give loans to the entrepreneurs, to industries, to merchants, etc., etc., in their hands they will create capital out of it. So the stability between the two physical forces of consumption and production is equally important, because if you are lacking physical commodities to produce something, in that case the production cannot increase within the economy. For example, if you say if I want to increase the production of steel, iron, it's a fundamental material for the development of economy. But within the country, if the iron ore is not available, the fundamental increase in the steel making capacity cannot grow. A very simple example you can have that in Gulf countries they have petroleum product, crude product. Therefore, they are their economy is dependent on the availability of the crude oil, and they have huge refineries and marketing facilities to facilitate the demand generating from different corner of the world. But they don't have steel processing industry, because in those countries iron ore is not found. In India, we are fortunate that we have huge reserves of iron ore, and that too of very high quality. Therefore, we can always say that our steel industry is not dependent on importing the raw material necessary for the consumption of the steel industry. But if the If the reserves of iron ore is not available, then what will happen to the stability of physical stability part of the horizontal division of economy? Someday or other, it will cause shrinking of the production of steel or any other material for that matter, because the if you create the processing facility, you need to have the availability of raw material also. In most of the cases, minerals, if they are found within the country, the processing facility also is created by the entrepreneur, because they are assured of the raw material. They know that for long term profitability of processing steel making or copper making or zinc making or any other processing of natural resources, it will be financially viable, because if they are making the investment can only be recouped over a long period of time. At least 15 years, 20 years, 25 years is required to make these processing industries feasible. Only then the entrepreneurs will be interested in creating the processing facilities. On the other hand, you have a manufacturing industry as well. For example, if you want to create the automobile industry requires certain type of steel, and just to make the car, the body of the automobile, the car, and there is a the overall percentage. If you consider the cost of production of a car, you will find that the input of raw material is not there. They are using the processed products. They are not making the steel, but they are utilizing the product of the steel making industry. For example, we have a Bokaro steel plant, we have a Bhilai steel plant. So these plants are rolling out the steel sheets, and these sheets only are used to make the automobile industry possible. So if the total cost of input of steel making sheet, body making sheet, is comparatively lower, it can be imported instead of purchasing it. These are generally, we call it in finance and in economics, ki make or buy. I should make it or I should buy it. If the buying is cheaper, naturally no industry will take place, because the industry that requires it will prefer to buy it from any source available in the international market, and there will be little attraction for creating the basic input conversion activity, like steel mills will not be created, like cement making industry is not they will generally prefer to import the cement itself, because if the limestone is not found in the country, in that case the cement industry, which requires it as a raw material, so cement making industry will not grow, but the demand will remain same, and will be met from importing the cement from other countries. They have surplus production. They create the surplus production. They create the surplus production facilities to facilitate export from their countries, because it is generally buy and take kind of a thing in the world economy. Some countries are rich in some natural resources. Some countries are rich in different kind of natural resources. So, in different part of the world, you will find that different industries are working successfully, and in some part it is not working successfully. So, those countries will import it and export something which is available with them as a surplus. So, the balance of trade or balance of payment is generally balanced by making a judicious export and mixing it with matching export. Otherwise, the if you keep on importing without exporting something, that country will go sort of insolvent, because the financial resources, if they are not generated within the economy, you can't keep on importing something or creating the currency, more and more currency resort. Because if the industry is not generating profit, you can't increase the income and the purchasing power just by printing currency notes or distributing loans. You can't keep it going for a very long period of time. Therefore, the physical activity is or the stability is equally very important in this graph of shape of economy. So, vertical division, we discussed that it's a balance between the demand volume and supply atmosphere, and the horizontal division, we have discussed the two rectangulars. One rectangular lower side of it, there's the physical activity we just discussed about, was the importance of balancing it with the monetary stability rectangle on the upper side. If we are creating a monetary pressure, or say increasing the income artificially by resorting to deficit financing or giving a very liberal loan for consumption, in that case the supply will increase and create the inflationary pressures. Comparative increase in the size of rectangle of monetary stability indicates that there is a more money chasing, comparatively fewer, lesser products that is required by the consumers. In that case, the more money will be utilized for a limited physical availability of the products with the population. So this is called demand driven inflation. If the demand is more and the production is not there, it will always cause a demand driven inflation. So how far and how it is affecting the stability of the economy, just by watching the shape or the area of rectangle of monetary stability, one can easily understand that it is not matching with the physical rectangle of the economy, and it is increasing, that inflationary forces will either they will aggravate, and if it is not aggregate, is already there, it will in the future will cause it. So there is a immediate need. If the money, if the supply, say monetary rectangle is showing the increase in size, there should be made immediately effort to increase the physical stability that is represented by the two physical forces of consumption and production. Otherwise, it will the inflationary pressure will increase on the economy. So these are the very basic analysis of the economic forces, how they are working, and everywhere in any, if you take any economy for that matter, it these forces are affecting the economy in different shape, in different proportion, in different level of severity, and every country is finding it. They try hard to somehow match the balance between these two basic activities of physical nature and monetary nature. So, this is the whole purpose of today's discussion, to make you aware, to introduce you to horizontal and vertical division of the economy, and how it is interpreted by watching a simple graph of the shape of economy. More meaning we will discuss when we introduce you to different shapes emerging by creating the triangles and squares, and mixing it with the shape of economy with the economic logic of it. Because everywhere I told you that it is the area which is causing the increase or decrease in the economic activity, particular economic activity, and their monetary counterpart of it. So, till then, thanks.